The power symbol. I imagine most never give it much thought. Perhaps you just accept that it's the symbol for power, one of those things that's seemingly been around forever. But someone had to come up with it at some point in the past, and it turns out there is a clear reason that it looks the way it does. Not only that, but there's more than one symbol for power when it comes to technology, and each one means something different. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. To answer the big question of why the power symbol looks like this, you have to take apart the symbol itself. This line right here is meant to symbolize the number 1, and the circular part symbolizes 0. The idea comes from the binary system, where 1 means on and 0 means off. Put them together and you have a symbol that is supposed to be easily understood as the symbol for power turning on and off, regardless of what language the end user speaks. Now, before this symbol existed, power switches were often simply labeled with the word on or off, and sometimes they still are today. There's actually nothing forcing anyone to use the power symbol on their products. But a dilemma arose during the mid-20th century when electronic imports and exports were exploding, and the words on and off were obviously only meaningful to English speakers. Combined with the fact that words are arguably less elegant and compact than an icon of some kind, and it was decided that an international power symbol was needed. And it wasn't just electronics and appliances that needed a ubiquitous language-agnostic symbol. Automobile sales were quickly turning into a global market as well, and there are a ton of technical functions that need labeling, many of which are commonplace across vehicles worldwide. Enter the International Electrotechnical Commission, or IEC, currently based in Geneva, Switzerland. The IEC is a non-profit, non-governmental international standards organization, one of many groups that exists with the goal of standardizing electrical technologies. Universal power symbols were first introduced in 1973 through the International Electrotechnical Commission 60417 standard, titled Graphical Symbols for Use on Equipment. The power symbol we talked about earlier is actually called IEC 60417-5009 and is retroactively referred to as the standby symbol. This symbol actually means that pressing it can toggle the device's power state, but does not completely cut off power at the power supply or the mains itself. That's why you see this so often on desktop computers and laptops, because pressing it often engages a soft reset or soft power off. Conversely, if you look at the power switch on a power supply, you'll probably see the line and the circle of the power symbol separately on each side of the switch. That means that toggling the switch one way or another will enable or disable the power completely. Similarly, there is the power on-off symbol, which has the line inside of the circle, and this means that pressing it will either power a device fully on or fully off with nothing in between. And then there's a somewhat related symbol, the waning crescent moon, known as the power sleep symbol. This is mostly seen on desktop computer keyboards and indicates that pressing it will put the machine into sleep mode without cutting power. This was created by the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers under the notion that the standby symbol already in use was too vague. But yeah, the full IEC 60417 standard is absolutely massive and pretty fascinating if you ask me, defining thousands of internationally used symbols. Pretty much every button or function you see on electronics, automobiles, and appliances made since the mid-70s came from this list of definitions. Power standby, high beams, play, pause, low battery, macro mode, risk of electric shock, fragile handle with care, wireless communication, tape recorder, operating system, or command key, the list goes on and on. I find this whole list oddly enjoyable to sift through. There's just a satisfying aesthetic to these things, and a minimalist yet effective artistry going on. And it's kind of fun to pick one you don't know and try to guess what it means without looking it up. After all, these are meant to be understandable regardless of what language you speak. There's something admirable about the pursuit of trying to say the most by using the absolute least, a sort of modern hieroglyphics understood not by any one community, but by an entire planet. But as for the power symbol in particular, it seems to have the most universal appeal, regardless of its original meaning or intent. You see it on t-shirts, corporate logos, art exhibits, album covers, and even things like cufflinks, earrings, and tattoos. Of all the symbols defined in IEC 60417, the one for power is arguably the one to have best achieved its goal of ubiquity around the world, especially among the tech-loving community. Maybe it's just me, but I think it's pretty neat to think about the symbols we use every day without a second glance, and now maybe you will too. And if you enjoyed this video, I think you might like some of my others. I like covering niche tech topics, it's just kind of my thing, so if you like that, stick around. And as always, thank you very much for watching LGR.